Welcome back to Pigskin Perspectives. It is divisional round weekend, only 4 games this weekend, which also means there are only 7 games remaining in the NFL season. Boy, does the season fly by fast. It feels like it was just 2 weeks ago. Week 1 of the preseason was here, and it was the Browns and the Jets playing in the Hall of Fame game in Canton. Now here we are, only 8 teams remain on each, or in total, I should say. It's divisional weekend feels kind of like the last real weekend of football, because there's multiple games on, not at the same time, but within the same time frame ish. I know conference championship week, they're back to back, but it kind of feels like the last real weekend of football. I don't know why. That's just how it feels. So it's kind of sad because the season's coming to an end. But hey, we're going to enjoy every ounce of football that we can get out of these last 7 games, because we know that 7th one is the biggest one. And that is the Super Bowl, which we are under a month away now from the Super Bowl kicking off in Las Vegas. Should be an interesting game. We know 2 of the 8 teams that are remaining will be there. The question is, who will they be and what kind of matchup are we going to get? So before we get there, we got to eliminate 4 teams this weekend. So let's get straight into these divisional matchups. So the first game is on Saturday. We got 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday. First game on Saturday is the number 4 seed Houston Texans coming off their blowout victory against the Cleveland Browns, going up against the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens, who obviously had the bye week because they were the number 1 seed. They also rested a lot of players week 18, so it's basically been 2 bye weeks in a row for most of their starters, which may or may not play a factor in this game. Who knows? These 2 teams actually met. First game of the season for both of them. Week 1, it was the Ravens at home. They walked away with a 25-9 victory over the Texans. CJ Stroud's first NFL start wasn't the greatest of games for him. I mean, only putting up 9 points kind of shows that, but he did end up going, I believe, 28 for 44 in that game for 242 yards, which isn't awful, but isn't great. Lamar Jackson in that game went 17 for 22, 169 yards and 1 interception. Listen, these 2 teams are 2 completely different teams than they were back in week 1 in September, even though, like I just said, it feels like it was just a few weeks ago. But it's not. This is going to be a very interesting matchup because, like I mentioned, the Ravens basically have had 2 bye weeks in a row. They haven't played a real game. Well, they've played a real game, obviously. With their starters, they haven't played a true game in 21 days, which is it's a lot of time. I still think they have the better team, but the Texans are the hot team right now. I know I mentioned this on Tuesday about the Packers. It's also the exact same thing is true for the Texans. The Texans have been playing playoff games since mid-December because they had to continue to win to find their way into the playoff, and they did. And they are the hot team now. The question is, do they have enough juice to get, 2 more wins to get to that big game? That could be that huge 3rd win. But how much energy is left in that tank? You've been playing playoff games since mid-December. At some point, that energy has to run out. Is this the weekend that it does? I truly believe it is. I know the Ravens haven't had the greatest of luck in the divisional rounds as of late. They always seem to get bounced, and they just don't look good in them. I just think this is the year they finally somewhat have it figured out. Now, if they start off slow, that's going to be a big problem because Houston can score quick and often. If Houston can force turnovers also, they can score off those turnovers. We saw it with the 2 pick sixes against Joe Flacco. Not saying Lamar Jackson's Joe Flacco, but I'm still saying. I still think the Ravens find a way to get it done. But like I said, if they come out looking flat because their starters haven't played a true real game in 21 days, the Texans are going to have to grab the bull by the horns and just run the ball just through the Ravens, and I believe that they would be able to get victory that way. But like I said, I think the Ravens pull it out. It's going to be close, though. I think like a 27-24. If the Ravens play like they were nearing the end of the season, even the Texans at their best, I don't think can beat them. Moving on to the other game that's on Saturday. It is the 8 o'clock game. It's on Fox. It is the number 7 seed Green Bay Packers coming off their dominating win against the 2 seed Dallas Cowboys, going to Santa Clara to face off against the number 1 seed San Francisco 49ers. Just like the Baltimore Ravens, the 49ers sat their starters week 18, had the bye week this week, which means their players haven't truly played a real game since, week 17, which was 21 days ago, basically. It worries me a little for the 49ers more than the Ravens, because I think the Ravens, they have enough talent around them to overcome. The thing with the 49ers, if they fall behind, Brock Purdy is not a quarterback that can lead a miraculous comeback. He's shown that time and again this year. He can't be that guy. If it's a, knockdown, drag out brawl and the Packers are up by 10 with 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter or something like that, Brock Purdy, I don't think, can make those throws that you need to have made to get within striking distance again. Brock Purdy, he's interesting to say the least, because the 49ers have a really good team around him, so he doesn't need to be that great of a quarterback. When they're down, they need him to be the quarterback that he can't be. I think he's proven that time and again. But the key factor here is the defense for the 49ers is very good. There's no doubting that. If they can slow down the Packers offense that's just been red hot as of late, I don't think it's going to matter which Brock Purdy shows up, because the 49ers can easily get a win by defense. Now, on the flip side, just like I mentioned with the Texans, the Packers have been playing playoff games since mid-December. Is there enough gas left in the tank to get you one more game? I really don't know if there is. I didn't think that there would be enough for them to beat Dallas. I don't know if that's more because Dallas always chokes in the playoffs or Green Bay's that much better of a team. The thing is, in the playoffs, the Packers are 4-1 all time against San Francisco 49ers when Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback. When Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback facing the San Francisco 49ers in the playoffs, the Packers were 0-4. So, it's a very interesting game because I do believe the Packers have the firepower to at least keep up. But if they don't go blow for blow with the 49ers, this game could end up 48-25 very quickly. And there's no coming back for the Packers from that. The Packers are going to have to strike early and often, just like they did against the Cowboys. They're going to have to create turnovers, force pressure on Brock Purdy. They're basically going to have to play a very close to perfect game. Do I think it can be done after what we saw last week? Of course, I think anything can be done by this Packers team now. Do I think it will happen? I don't see it happening. Honestly, this time slot, this channel, this matchup just gives me flashbacks to 2 years ago when the Packers were the much better team. They were the 1 seed playing a home game at Lambeau, divisional round. And they end up losing to the 49ers by like 3 or 4 because of special teams mistakes. I just don't see it happening, truly. I think the 49ers get a win here because they just have the better talent. Jordan Love's the better quarterback in this game, but I think on every other position, it's the 49ers. I think the 49ers win this game. I think it may become kind of blowout territory like the 48-25, like I said. I don't see the Packers keeping up or, going blow for blow and just boat racing the 49ers like they did with the Cowboys. It's just 2 completely different scenarios, and I just can't see the Packers being able to do it again. So moving on to Sunday, we got 2 more games, 2 very interesting games. The Detroit Lions, after not hosting a playoff game in 32 years, have 2 in 2 weeks. The number 3 seed Lions will play host to number 4 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is interesting. These 2 teams did play earlier this year in Tampa Bay. It was week 6. I believe that was the second week in October. The Buccaneers lost that game at home 20-6 to those Lions. But the score I felt was much closer than what the game actually entailed. But the Lions played almost a perfect game on defense, something they basically haven't done since that game. This is going to be something because although I am wearing a Lions jersey, it's because it's the only thing I have that matches any team left for now. I'm sure we'll figure something out by the Super Bowl, especially if the Lions aren't in it. The Lions, I don't love them. They just kind of annoy me, all that stuff. The Buccaneers have one of few people in the NFL that I kind of dislike. There's a lot of people I like in the NFL, and there's a few that I dislike. One of them being the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. You could say, well, Baker led you to the only playoff victory for the Browns in your lifetime. Yeah, that's true. But the defense kind of carried that game. I believe the defense had 2 of the touchdowns in the game, or 3 of them, something like that. But all that goodwill I had for Baker kind of disappeared his last season in Cleveland because I get that he was playing for a contract, but he cost the Browns so many games that year. He got injured, I believe, week 2, shoulder injury. And he just kept playing on it, and it made it worse and worse. And the Browns kept getting worse and worse because of that injury. If you're injured, you're injured. You got to sit out because you're not going to be performing at top level, especially if you're in the quarterback position. So, as we dragged on, I remember it was Christmas Day. They were at Lambeau facing off against the Packers. I think he threw 4 interceptions, and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Let's move on. Now, of course, seeing what moving on was, that they moved on to something. Might be completely worse. And, don't know what you got till it's gone. I truly believe there could have been a better quarterback out there other than Baker and Deshaun Watson. I don't know. This game does annoy me because I truly don't want either team to win. It's all going to depend on what happens on Saturday night, basically. If the Packers win on Saturday night, I am 1,000% pulling for the Lions because I believe the Packers have a really good shot against the Lions to win that game. Now, of course, saying that game's not going to happen at all. We know that. The 49ers are winning that game. In this game, the Lions are the better team. The defense needs to show up in this game for the Lions. It almost cost them on Sunday against the Rams. You also got to factor in here. Buccaneers technically have a short week. They played Monday night. So, Monday going into a Sunday afternoon kick, it's one less day. The Lions have one extra day of rest. That means a lot coming into, here we are in January. All the rest you can get is very key. I hate picking this game because, like I said, don't really want either team to win. I think the Lions get it done, though. I don't think they'll end up hosting the conference championship because I think the 49ers end up winning. But if the Packers end up winning, and it's the Lions and the Packers at Ford Field for a spot in the Super Bowl, I mean, we better start checking the clouds to see if pigs are flying. I'm pretty sure that's in the books as a sign for the apocalypse, the Lions hosting a playoff game for a spot in the Super Bowl. We got to get there first before we start checking for this stuff. But just saying, we're on high alert right now for potential apocalyptic type conditions. If the Lions somehow make the Super Bowl, I'm worried for humanity because that has to be a sign of the end times. And then finally, the last game, it's a 6:30 kickoff, so no Sunday night football. This is Sunday late evening football. It is the number 3 seed Kansas City Chiefs going on the road in the playoffs for the first time in a long, long, long time, facing off against the 2 seed Buffalo Bills. Just a month ago, basically, week 14, it was Bills at the Chiefs. The Bills walked away with a 20-17 victory in that game. And what was the big difference in that game? It was that offsides play that got called back on the Chiefs that would have been a touchdown if there was no offsides. And with the change in that, if the Chiefs win that game, this game's at Arrowhead. This game is most likely going to be the best game of the playoffs. I feel these two teams always go back and forth. They've faced off, I think, 3 of the last 4 playoffs. All at Arrowhead, all Chiefs victories. I truly think we may have finally reached the time where it is the Bills' time. Now, saying that, the Chiefs are going to come out, look amazing this week. They're going to get an easy victory. Easy meaning they win by 10 or more, because these two teams are going to play it close. Ever since, I believe, the bye week, the Bills are 6-0, 5-0, somewhere around there. The Bills, just like the Texans, just like the Packers, have been playing playoff games since basically this Chiefs game. in December. And the Bills have been passing with flying colors. They look like they're getting hot at the right time. It looks like they might truly be a Super Bowl threat. I don't know if they can fully get there. But this does also finally feel like the time that the Chiefs' empire kind of falls. We've kind of seen the cracks in the foundation all year. They haven't looked like what they usually have. If the game wasn't in negative 30-degree temperatures and they were playing in, I'll even say 20 degrees, I think the Dolphins put up a better fight. This does feel like the time that it's finally Josh Allen's time to get a victory over Patrick Mahomes. With all this being said, the Chiefs are probably going to win this game. Mahomes knows how to win in these type of situations. I'm not saying Josh Allen doesn't, but I mean, Josh Allen hasn't beat Patrick Mahomes at all in the playoffs. As much as I want it for the people of Buffalo, I don't think this is the year. I think last year was the final window of opportunity, and I think the window's closed. I can't see them getting it done. I think we're going to end up with a Ravens-Chiefs AFC title game, and I really do hate to do this to the people of Buffalo, but I think the Bills lose on a field goal or something, and it's going to be just so gut-wrenching and terrible. I don't want to see that happen. I want the people of Buffalo to succeed. I don't know if this is the year. I think last year may have been the final year of that window. So, given that is the divisional round preview. Just some quick news and notes. Mike McCarthy coming back next year. That is a interesting choice for the Cowboys. I for sure thought Jerry Jones would, go out into the market, find somebody else that might win. Bill Belichick has done 2 interviews with the Atlanta Falcons. It seems like it's kind of leaning that way, that he's going to end up in Atlanta, which is certainly a choice since they don't have a quarterback. I figured he would go somewhere that's basically established, just needs a coach to win a Super Bowl, like LA or Las Vegas, but Vegas less than LA. But Vegas, I don't even know if they've interviewed anybody yet. I don't think Antonio Pierce has even gotten interviewed, even though he was the interim, went 5-4. Max Crosby said he will demand a trade if Antonio Pierce is not the head coach, so that could play a factor into Mark Davis's choice. The 49ers have, or not the 49ers, the Chargers have interviewed a slew of coaches. Saw David Shaw interviewed today, but that's mostly because of the Rooney Rule, which I still think is very flawed and needs to be fixed somehow. Obviously, the big fish is Jim Harbaugh. I think there's above 50% chance that it is going to be Harbaugh. But a little wrinkle was thrown into that today with Mike Vrabel being interviewed for that position. I think if Vrabel wasn't interviewed, I think it was Harbaugh's job to lose. I think Vrabel, throws a little wrinkle in there. He has more recent NFL experience, obviously. Jim Harbaugh's last game in the NFL will be 10 years ago coming up this year. The game has changed a lot in 10 years. I still think it's Harbaugh's job to lose. I believe if he gets the offer, he is leaving for that job. Harbaugh also interviewed for the Falcons, but like I said, kind of seems like it's going to be Belichick taking that one. The Seahawks, there really hasn't been any talk there. I think it's still leaning towards Dan Quinn. I know that they have interest in Vrabel too. I don't know if either of those happen. I think Vrabel is probably the better fit of the two, but I don't know. Commanders, it looks like it's leaning towards Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. That's kind of been the murmur. So once the Lions season is over, it looks like their offensive coordinator will be out the door. The Panthers, I truly have no idea what they're doing. I don't even think there's a front runner right now. So just who knows about the Panthers. So given that, this is going to wrap up this episode of Pigskin Perspectives. Thank you so much for watching. If you just stumbled across this video and liked it, hit like, hit subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. It helps the channel immensely. We will be back on Tuesday or Monday, since there's no Monday night, who knows, to recap all these games. And hopefully we have a good weekend of football. It's, like I said, feels like the last real weekend of football. So hopefully you enjoy it, and we will be back soon for another episode of Pigskin Perspectives.